Welcome back, Washed Up Walk Ons fans. This is episode 112 of the podcast, aka the Corona Chronicles. I'm coming from you live from my house. Haven't left in like what feels like 100 days. Haven't got a haircut in what seems like even longer. That's why I look like Captain Jack Sparrow for anybody looking on the YouTube. This is getting out of hand, to be honest. So this podcast episode, a couple episodes ago, maybe one or two, we talked about who would be on the Mount Rushmore of funniest dudes that we ever played with. And 3 defensive linemen got mentioned. And today on the podcast, we were supposed to have 2 of them. And luckily for us, one of them ended up showing up. One of them was accountable. The other one being Jaleel Johnson decided that he got a little hungry before the podcast was supposed to kick off this morning at 10 a.m. He went to the grocery store. So then he just hasn't picked up his phone since. But Faith, my guy, picked up the phone and showed up on time. He's ready to go, and I feel like we're going to have some pretty funny conversations because this guy belongs on the Mount Rushmore. So, Faith, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I guarantee you, if you go look at Jaleel's snap right now, he's got some bullshit on there.
and the thing is, he posted a picture on Instagram, and it was just his face with the barbershop poles. And I texted him, and I said, "Answer my text, motherfucker." And he didn't respond to that, or he didn't even open that, and he didn't respond to the text. So here we are.
That is surprising.
So Faith, thanks for coming on, first of all. You are one of the many that we've had on the list for a long time, and the time was right. What?
Why am I on that list?
Because, dude, we're trying to just get a conversation in with all of our former teammates. Just like everybody has their own stories to tell, and everybody had unique experiences with coaches and teammates, and like we love chopping it up and talking locker room stories and laughing and shit, and getting to talk about like coaches' stories and reasons Doyle yelled at you and all those things. Like we just like to get on here and laugh about what Iowa football was for us, and the fans love to listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah, bro.
Now, Faith, are you comfortable there? Because you've been walking around like a dog trying to find a comfortable spot to lay down. Are you good there? Or are you gonna keep
Hey, I've never seen. Yeah, I'm wondering if he's trying to get comfortable or if he's trying to like humble brag and show us all the natural light that he's got in his house. Like, bro. Are you good now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Now
playing 2K.
2K. Okay.
Hey, so what if I got it? So I'm smoking some stuff right now.
Okay.
If I got to get up and go check on that.
Go check on it. We'll.
What you got in the smoker right now?
Some ribs, some bacon, some dog treats, and some salmon.
What do you got for the dog treats?
Just some bones, like the soup bones.
Wow, you really do it up, huh?
I think I'm gonna try and start selling them.
You should.
Wow.
The dog treats?
Ward, where do you live right now?
I live in Iowa City, dude.
Okay, so
Still rocking on.
I live right in Gurney area, right by Lake Forest.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna try and start selling to a few of the people that I know, specifically in Lake Forest.
Back in Lake Forest, man, huh? How's being back in the hometown?
It's not my hometown, though.
Whoa. Which Lake Forest you talking about?
Lake Forest, Illinois.
Right. That's where you went to high school, right?
Yeah.
But he's from Canada.
From Canada.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, shit, man. Well, you and Jaleel are the same. No one knows where the fuck you're from.
If Jaleel would have showed up to the podcast today, my intro had something to do with saying that that it's Faith. Not sure if he's actually from Canada, Ekakitie. And then Jaleel, I know he's not actually from Brooklyn, John. That's what was going to be in my intro. And, well, there it is.
He's not from Brooklyn. He's from Chicago.
Yeah,
that's what I'm telling you.
We know. Unreal. So Faith, we'll get back to the Canada. We'll get back to all of it. But you still look big as hell, my guy. Like you're.
How much do you think I weigh right now?
I mean, not as much as you used to, but I would say I was going to say 265.
I was going to say every bit of 270 still.
No.
No?
240?
300.
You weigh 300 still?
Yeah.
Sheesh. You looking lean though, dude.
Brody's looking for some calls. Draft just ended.
No, still 300.
Come on now.
I said like 290. Like 290. Like if I depending on how much I eat that week, like to like 300. Like
It always does.
What does the diet look like nowadays that you're not with Doyle anymore and football is how long have you been out of football?
Almost 2 years now.
Okay. So what is it, what was the goal personally? Because I know we'll get into this too. We talked to LaShawn, and that's kind of what sparked us having you on is he said he's been working with you a little bit. I see you on the Snap, on the Instagram, doing some training, which I love to see.
I hate social media now.
Really?
I hate social media.
Why?
Social media is such a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't get me wrong. Like I have a lot more respect for people that have a big social media presence and like are putting out content every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Like that stuff, I didn't realize like
it's a job, bro.
Like posting the video and like my videos, like they tell me like, oh yeah, your video's good. I'm like, no, they're shit. And like that takes me like for each clip, like that's like 5-10 minutes ish. Yeah. Like just going back and forth on Instagram, like edit this, edit that. And like I think about the people that do it for like a profession. And like I've had, I saw one girl, she does like the social media stuff. She had showed me how she was like editing stuff, like cutting this, cutting that. And I was like, dude, like this takes like a while.
Yeah.
Like,
people don't know how hard those Instagram influencers have it, man.
Yeah, like, I understand like why like
true.
NFL teams pay someone specifically to just do that like for an entire like year.
Basically any company nowadays. I mean,
it's a good thing we have Kluver because like he's the only one that's any good at social media. If it was up to me and Kevin, like we wouldn't have any people that liked us because he's on the social media account like retweeting the fans and stuff.
Bro, all the time. If I'm 6 weeks out from my 1 year wedding anniversary, and if there was one thing that my wife would say was the biggest annoyance to her in our first year of marriage was I'm on my phone all the fucking time. Because
first part is you gotta be though.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I wonder, I'm like, yo, how would I do my job if I didn't have my phone?
Right. So like, especially now for me, because I'm shifting to more of a self-employed, similar kind of stuff, posting a bunch of fitness content, stuff like that. For the Wash Up Walk-Ons alone, I'm doing stuff on the days that the podcast is released. I'm doing like an hour of just social media, like creating basically a day. And not to mention interacting with the fans, retweeting some of the best, stories or comments that people say on that, making sure that we're running like advertisements on the correct pieces of social media. And then I have my own
advertisements.
Yeah, I run on Facebook. I do because they have,
look at us. Hey, look at us.
Which speaking of, as Faith checks on his ribs, I love it. For those out there, we're actually going to get our shit together, and we're going to start offering. You guys always hear the Anchor and the Spotify, but we're going to start offering like maybe 2 or 3 more ad slots. So if you have a company, email us at my email tyler-kluver@live.com, and we'll talk about some advertisement.
We'll have your people. We'll talk to our people, and we'll get
your people will talk to me because I'm our people, and that's how it'll fucking go. But anyway, Faith, how is the life currently? Talk about what you're doing right now and how life is going, and talk about Corona.
He was training James Diesel before Corona.
Yeah. So life is good. Obviously post football, I'm Michaela and I were settling down in Illinois right now. We're actually in the talking about looking for a place to buy out here.
Cool.
Put some roots down.
That's exciting.
Which is very crazy for me, to be honest with you, but exciting.
Why is that crazy?
Just because, like, if you think about it, like I'm born in Nigeria, raised in Canada, high school Illinois, college Iowa, back up to Canada.
Okay.
Like I've been moving my entire life.
Yeah.
Like I don't really stay in one one place too long. Whether or not that's by design, but so yeah, we're doing that now. I've been working as a strength coach out here in Illinois. Work at essentially it's at a private gym. It's actually the company itself is owned by a group of physicians called the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute, and so in this primarily their physician's office, but then they've got like the physical therapy side of it also. Part of what they started doing within the last, I'd say, 10 years is the performance training side of things, and I feel like they have that at a couple locations, ours being one of them. So I started working with them. They work with adult private training, adult boot camp classes, athlete training. They work with a ton of feeder teams that are in the area. They do little things like this. So this past year, I got the opportunity to work with at Libertyville High School as their head strength coach there.
Cool.
They have a contract through IBJI, and we kind of send a strength coach there to do all their work. That coaching. So spent a year coaching football at my high school, my alma mater. Football team is no longer there.
Damn. Wow.
You got to be a coach. You got
right out of the building.
the team into such a dog shit team that they fell apart or what?
No. So like I coached, and then there's one more year. So the year that I got there, it was the first year they did 8-man football. So this is my first exposure to 8-man. Hey, shout out to Drew Ott, Nate Meyer, anybody
Nate Meyer.
8-man football.
Yep.
Like,
they were all defensive linemen too.
Nate Meyer is a goddamn Iowa legend. Dude scored like 10 touchdowns and rushed for 500 yards in one game.
But
those are real stats.
Literally, like it's absurd, and it's kind of hard. Well, it wasn't hard to coach, but it's different. Like it was different every.
Like it's got to feel like a completely different sport.
Yeah.
I mean, like you throw all the schemes and all the technical shit that you learn, all the X's and O's that you learn in college, and you basically got to throw it out the door.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't really apply anymore.
Right.
Yeah, no.
All the physical stuff is the same, but yeah, the whole concept of the game is different for sure.
Yeah, and the talent, the talent that we were working with, like, it's just a different level of football in general. Like,
right.
So I gotta step in. I did play Faith back in high school. The Providence Catholic Celtics did drive up to Lake Forest, and
that was some bullshit.
I gave it to you.
Some bullshit. Like there was no reason. Like that's like you remember Coach Morgan be like the school, like he'd say stuff like the school of like the blind and the deaf and whatnot.
Yeah, it was you guys.
That was us, and that Providence. You have an 8A school that's got 4,000 kids.
No.
We had 20 kids on the varsity. Like 6 of us actually knew how to play football.
There was Faith, and then there wasn't a whole lot else.
Actually, so we played Providence. We played like Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel 2 years in a row on TV.
So for the fans back, no. So for the fans back home, Lake Forest was a very small private school. Like it was, there was really not a ton of kids there. It was like an academy. Like you guys like went and lived in the school, right?
Hogwarts.
Yeah, Hogwarts. And for some reason, you guys weren't a religious school, as far as I know, right?
No, they were Hogwarts.
No, but they were a private school, so they had to fit in some conference. And
Face was the Black Harry Potter.
And the IHSA just say, you know what, we're just going to stick them in the Chicago Catholic League, which is the toughest league in the
football coaches. Our football, like the head coach at the time, master recruiter, like master negotiator, like best car salesman ever. He convinced me. Yeah. He convinced me to come to a private school in the middle of Illinois from Canada.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah, you did. And hey, you went to Iowa, but how was your high school years? I'm honestly curious. Like, what was it like to go to like a boarding school in high school?
It was different. like I came from a public high school where like it was a public Catholic high school, but like it was like the school everybody went to go play basketball. Like if you were gonna hoop, like that's where you went.
Because you still claim you can hoop.
Yeah, I could hoop.
Yeah, we knew that was coming.
I could hoop. I'm telling you, bro. If I was 6'8",
you would be Zion.
I'd probably be playing overseas somewhere.
Okay.
I probably would have. What probably would have ended up happening is I would have ended up trying to play basketball in college, and then played for like the first 3 years, and then someone would have been like, "Yo, take your ass over to the football team and go try out for football again." I would have tried that, but
So
you weren't getting away from Coach Morgan.
You moved
Anyway,
into Illinois for just your high school years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for like 8th, 9th grade, you came over.
No, after my sophomore year.
Oh, sophomore year.
Sophomore year in Canada, then came over, reclassed in my sophomore year again here.
Oh, damn.
Sophomore, junior, and then I was there senior year.
Okay.
I actually tried to take off senior year because at the end of my junior year, I technically had enough credits to graduate. But the school itself, and it's not knocking the school, but like they promote, like they part of like what they like tell everyone is like, yo, we got 100% graduation rate. So if you
So there's no chance they were letting you go.
Yeah, no. So you let me leave. No.
That would have been so sweet to have a 5th year of high school football, though.
It would have been interesting.
It might have been if he wasn't playing for Lake Forest Academy. Not exactly an athletic powerhouse in the state of Illinois.
So when did
Sorry, Faith.
when did either Coach Morgan or Coach Ferentz, when did Iowa first come onto your radar? And what was high school Faith Ekakitie thinking in your head as far as your future in college, and how did that all come about to get you into the black and gold?
Bro, I didn't know shit. Like, I didn't know shit about shit.
Shit about shit, okay?
Let me put it
this Faith Ekakitie guy, right? He was at fucking Lake Forest. He didn't know shit about shit, all right?
No, I didn't know.
He didn't even know what the fuck Iowa was, okay?
I'm not dead serious. I know where Iowa was. So, like, let me put it this way. So, like, I didn't grow up, like, watching college football like a lot of, like, most kids do.
Right.
Like, I watched basketball. Like, I actually didn't start playing any sports until I was 13. I started playing basketball when I was 13. And then that's when I kind of started following the NBA. You know, Vince Carter was, you know, that whole Vince Carter hype train was happening in Toronto. You had, like, that first wave of kids, of, like, actual basketball players in Canada that could, like, compete with, like, American talent and, like, come down and say, all right, like, you know, we can hoop too. And so, like, that's part, like, I was literally chasing that hoop dream and saying, yo, I want to go down to America and essentially prove that I can compete with the top athletes here also. So that's part of the reason that I even considered, like, transferring to Lake Forest Academy. Now, in terms of, like, when Iowa came onto the scene, I don't remember when they started recruiting me, to be honest with you. Like, it was at some point my junior year.
You were a ridiculously big-time recruit by the time you left, right?
Yeah. So, like, I think my sophomore year, like, my first offer was, like, Eastern Michigan, and I think Illinois offered at some point my sophomore year. And then, like, my junior year, essentially, like, everybody from the Big Ten was offering, a couple of schools in SEC. My high school coach had really good connections in terms of who he knew in the college. Because at one point, I think Oregon flew out to come recruit me, Stanford.
God damn.
And in terms of, like, just, like, a demographic, like, that just didn't make sense. Like, all right, but he knew a couple of the coaches that were, like, he knew the D-line coach at the time at Oregon. He knew I don't know who he knew at Stanford, but he knew somebody. So that was big.
Maybe you should have gone to Stanford. That might have had more fun at the Rose Bowl.
Hey, man. Hey, Christian is a bad
man.
That's a bad dude. I don't feel bad at all for what he did to us. I don't.
I don't feel bad because I in my heart, like, I believe that if you took him off the field that day, like, we win that game.
100%.
We win that game, like.
Because you think about it, now the game plan changes, bro. The whole game plan changes, right, Kevin? You take Christian off that field, the defensive game plan changes.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, not so much our defensive game plan, but their offensive game plan was. I mean, he probably had 85% of their total yards that game.
Well, he had 85 yards on the first play.
Well, there you go.
He also had about 85 yards as we watched him run right by us on a punt return.
I didn't watch.
Yep, you didn't see it. Double team. No reason why they should have double teamed you. I wasn't even close. I've never felt slower on a single play in my life.
Anyway, Faith, back to your recruiting. So you have a bunch of offers from all over the country. Why Iowa? What singled them out? And what how do they kind of separate themselves?
So actually, one of my coaches, one of my teachers at the school, he said, all right, I think he's from Iowa. So he said, all right, I'm going back home to wherever, I think it was like Cedar Rapids.
Yep.
Cedar Rapids, and drive up. I think I came for a junior and to watch a spring practice, actually. I remember that on the drive up, it was nothing but cornfields, 3 hours. I was like, bro, where are we going? And we finally get to this place, and I'm watching I watch a spring practice, they show me the whole facility, and the only thing I'm thinking in my head, I was like, there's no way I'm coming to school out here. This place is fucking nowhere. And I remember I met CJ Fedorowicz that day. Okay. And I remember thinking, CJ. They tell me CJ's 6'7"?
Yeah,
he's not a small dude.
2'7", built like a Greek god. And they're like, yo, it's CJ. He's a tight end. I said, bro, if you the tight end, what does the offensive line look like? And I remember I came back and they said, so how's your thing? I was like, are you sure you want me to play a defensive tackle or a defensive line? And they're like, yeah. What are you talking? I was like, bro, I don't know if I'm big enough.
Like, you said that to him?
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking? They're like, what are you talking? I was like, bro, they tight end talking about he's 6'7", 265. What is offensive line like? I'm 6'2".
You definitely met the wrong dude.
Yeah. But and at the time there was this article, the whole Rabbitoh incident.
Oh yeah.
That article, and I was like, yeah, there's no way in hell I'm going to Iowa. They're done. They're off. But at some point, it was Coach Herb that recruited that area at the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he just kept sticking around, kept checking in. Eventually, I took the visit. I visited a bunch of schools actually. Took the visit. Coop was my host.
Oh shit!
Sold.
Yeah.
Sold.
You had the time of your life, didn't you?
Yeah. It was done deal after that.
Where'd Coop take you?
He took me everywhere.
What was your favorite place that night? What was your favorite experience?
Coop did.
Because it had to be so eye-opening.
No, we can't talk about that.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Dude, when you got Coop stories, man, it's really 50-50 on those, bro. It's really 50-50.
Drake was talking about the Mount Rushmore of funniest dudes that we play with. Coop was definitely an honorable mention, if not firmly on.
Who's on your Mount Rushmore?
Funniest dudes? Coop, Jalil,
yep.
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor. What?
Hilarious.
Bro, but not because
I can't believe Richard Pryor's got a shout out on
not because he was trying to be though, dude. Just because he naturally, the stuff he did was hilarious.
Bro, the fact that why did they let that guy at a football field?
I don't know.
If you watched him in high school, he was actually kind of like.
I'm pretty sure his dad was a savage back.
His dad was a beast.
Yeah, I know that.
There's some legacy to it.
It was like
that was irresponsible. You don't.
We don't have to go there. We don't.
Yeah, I don't know. We can maybe post a picture.
I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah. After that visit, I was kind of sold on that visit, and the fact that Coach Ferris was the only one that didn't really bullshit me. When I finally met with him, he was like, "Yo, you're gonna come here," and I met with Coach Doyle. Coach Doyle gave me the whole breakdown. Hey, these are the guys that I've worked with over the course of the years. These are how many NFL defensive linemen that we put in the NFL, or at least gotten a shot in the NFL. This is what we've done from a strength and conditioning standpoint. I had that whole talk with him. And I think that was the piece, like that, and the talk with Coach Ferentz, and him just being like, yo, like, you're going to come in, like, you're going to have to work for everything that you're going to get. Obviously, like, we're not going to come in and just hand things to you. And I remember Coach Morgan, I remember he had told me, he was like, yo, if you're going to ask for a car or Escalade, like, this is not the place. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, damn, like, that was an option? Like,
who's giving out the Escalades?
Yeah, like, who's getting the Escalade? I got to know. But that was really – and the thing is, I didn't know anything. Like, as far as I was concerned, like, I didn't know in terms of college football, like, I didn't know who was good. I didn't know historically who was the good schools, what the good schools were. I didn't know anything about scheme. I didn't know what defense would fit me best. I didn't know, like, when the coaches would bring you on a visit and they'd sit you down for a fucking hour and they'd watch breakdown film with you, bro, I'd fall asleep so fast. Like, it'd just be me and the coach sitting right beside me, and I'd be like, yo. But, like, we'd break down film for, like, an hour, and I'd be like, and, you ask your questions, and I'd be watching, I'd be like, yo, I don't know what the hell is going on up there. Like, I don't, like, none of that stuff. I don't get it. Cool.
It's all gibberish when you first get there.
None of my decision in terms of, like, from a football standpoint, like, it wasn't based on football. Like, it was based on, the people, like the coaches, when I took the visit, if I was vibing with the dudes.
Thanks, Coop. Shout out, Coop.
Like, I took a visit to BC, and, like, they got their ass kicked by Florida State that night. But, like, after the game, like, you just tell, like, everybody, like, you had the defensive linemen talking shit about the wide receivers talking shit about the O-line. I'm like, yo.
Wow.
That's all bad. But yeah.
Yeah, that's not exactly what you want to go play for.
So you make the decision to come to Iowa, and you find your way to Iowa City. What are your initial thoughts in that first camp? In that first, I imagine you came in maybe in the summer before your first camp to train a little bit. What is Faith thinking at that point, and what were your expectations walking into
because that first camp is the truth.
For that first camp, I wasn't even worried about that first camp. That first summer was a bitch. I was pissed. I was upset, and it wasn't even because of the football. Because that summer, you guys remember the Link crew?
Oh yeah.
Link. Yeah, I remember the first couple years.
I came in early that summer, and they didn't really tell me about nobody really told me about the Link crew. And apparently, all right, summer comes, I'm taking 2 classes. I got like CPR and some other like lit class. And like, all right, you're in Link crew. And I was like, I don't really know what that is, but cool, whatever. So that summer, I'm taking the 2 classes, but they have me in like 20 hours of study hall. And we're living, and we get you. So it's me and Reese. Reese, bro, Reese would wake up every day at like 4:30 to call his mom.
Uh-oh.
And like his alarm was Ace Hood, like, so like 4:30, like hustle. And, and I'd be mad. And we lived in Mayflower. So we knew where everything was in Iowa City. And so we'd wake up. Thankfully, your brother actually, like your brother saved our lives that summer actually. Ride to the complex like in the morning. But like for like the first like week or so, like I was walking to the complex.
From Mayflower?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We walked to the complex. And then we walked from the complex to classes, and it was hot as hell in the summer. And then we walked and because we had to get like 20 hours of the LC or whatever, we'd walk from like the like EPB to like the LC, and they'd be like, yo, why are you late? And I'm like, bro, like I'm walking, like this is like a 15, 20-minute walk?
Yeah.
At least.
From Mayflower to the complex is no less than a half-hour walk.
Yeah. And so they're tripping, and I just remember I was like, bro, like I did not sign up for this. And then you got Doyle. I think who is it? Probably what's his name? Not Crack. What's his strength coach?
Ray?
Not Ray.
Was it Dustin?
Casey, Dustin, Joel. Who else was around that time?
There would have been one more. I don't remember.
It was Lima, I think.
No,
Lima wasn't there
not
yet.
all the
Lima
way
would have
back.
been an intern that year.
they were on your ass.
Nah. There's one that nobody liked.
I don't know. We
I
weren't
don't
there
either.
yet.
So my first year was Doyle, Ray,
I don't remember who it was.
Dustin,
Honestly, it doesn't
Casey,
matter.
Joel.
All I know is being in Kinnick every morning at like what 6, whatever the fuck it was, and then we'll go from Kinnick straight to the LC for like an hour, class, come back to the LC, go to another class, come back to the LC for like 2 or 3 more hours, and then and then because we didn't know where the food was, so I'd be hungry. I walk my ass back to Mayflower and then call it a night. I was hot.
That does sound like a terrible experience.
So when you finally got to camp, you were happier about the situation, or you just got even more miserable?
Yeah, because I was getting rides everywhere. And think
I
about
don't
it.
give a shit about this block
about
shit.
that.
I get a fucking band ride.
That first camp as a redshirt freshman, like you're not really doing shit. Like you're doing besides like Devo and like your few reps during blocks like Indy, like you're not really like unless you're not someone that's not redshirting, like you're not. There was nothing.
There's
crazy.
not a lot. Yeah, I mean, there's not. In a sense, there's definitely not a lot of pressure for you to perform. From and there always is. I mean, there's that general baseline level of like we expect you to give your all here, but yeah, I mean, as far as like in a certain way, you don't have to know your shit like a senior does, but
my freshman year, I felt like I was just trying to like stay alive.
Yeah, survive.
Just keep your head above water, man.
Yeah.
No, that's what freshman year of at least Iowa football is. It's can you survive or not? We're gonna give you just enough life raft to see if you can swim your way out of figuring out how to manage a Division I.
Yeah, it's like you're gonna go from being the man at high school where you could just go home and chill in your mom's basement, and
where you can walk on water.
Yeah, and then we're gonna take you to the deep water.
Yeah,
fucking try and drown you that first year.
Yeah, we're going to the fucking Bermuda.
10-pound weights. Keep your head above water.
Yeah, we're throwing you out in the Bermuda Triangle with a 25-pound kettlebell. See what happens. And you got to do Turkish get-ups in the water.
Your Turkish get-ups are trash. And how that kettlebell was heavy as hell too. Like it wasn't like
the lineman's was like at least I think
it was like
20,
it was like
28 or
50
32.
pounds.
It was like 53 pounder. Yeah,
it was like 50 pounds. Like at 6:30 in the morning.
And your joints are creaky as hell because you're sore.
Bro, how about landmine warm-up?
Landmine.
Oh man, I was so happy when we got littered landmine.
Bro,
that was awful.
But for real, that's some of the stuff I'm talking about. Like just like going from like in high school, like I lifted. I didn't really do shit.
I want to ask you about that.
Like I went into the weight room, like you do your bench, like you do your little roll,
Yeah.
you do the lat pull down machine, but I didn't really like other than that, like I wasn't going in there doing some plyometrics. I wasn't going in there conditioning ever.
Right.
I wasn't going in there
Like Faith, you've always been, because we were a year behind you. For those listening, your first year was 2012.
Yeah.
And
Tough first year.
And tough first year, 4-8.
That's what I'm talking about too. So we lost to Central Michigan that year.
Yeah.
Like on a game-winning kick, and I was like, I remember being on the sideline. I was like, damn, like that's ass. Like, damn, that's trash. Like we just lost. Like I was like upset that we lost, but like, and then everyone like you could kind of see like, yo, like everyone else was like real mad. And I was like, yo, like what's going on? And they're like, nah, we just lost Central Michigan. I was like, bro. I didn't realize Central Michigan was a MAC school. Like we weren't supposed to lose to a school like that.
So you were really still figuring shit out.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's wild. But back to what I was gonna say was, even since we got there, I know you didn't do it in 1 year. I mean, you're beefed up, bro. Like you are jacked. And is that genetic?
All take you down an alleyway.
Yeah, like. Is that some of that genetics, like LaShawn Daniels genetics, or a lot of that, like you just did a shitload of curls and bench in high school? Like,
no, it's push-ups.
Push-ups?
Honestly, yeah, push-ups. Nah, there's obviously like there's definitely like genetics at play. Like you can't. I'm not gonna sit here and say it and we don't have an athletic family. We have an athletic family, but
now you've always been a big
baby bro's at Penn State, right?
yeah. Actually, he's at North Carolina State now.
Oh hell yeah!
He just transferred.
He transferred?
Yeah, for I think his last year.
Cool.
Why did he transfer?
He's trying to play.
Ah,
Trying to play.
That is
He's been sitting behind a few like pretty good defensive linemen at Penn State.
oh, their defensive line gave us a fucking ass whooping this last year.
Yeah. But yeah.
So as you progress on, then you start to figure things out. I would love to hear about the middle years. Kind of becoming friends with Jaleel, finding your way onto the field. Jaleel,
me and Jaleel have been tied into hips since high school. Y'all realize that?
Since high school.
Like we played each other in high school, like my sophomore year.
What was the score of that
Because
game?
he's from Chicago, not from Brooklyn.
We beat his team's ass. And he'll tell you this every single time I bring that game, he'll be like, bro, I pancaked you that game. I'm like, no, you didn't.
Wait, you guys – was that before he was at Montini?
No, he's at St. Joe.
Okay. I was about to say that.
Like we were trash, but we would whoop St. Joe's ass. Like they were trash.
So Jaleel goes to Montini, which was the best team in the state at the time.
So we played my sophomore, I think junior year, and then he transferred to Montini to his senior year.
Okay.
And we both ended up going to Iowa. And then, yeah.
So then
tied to the hip.
Yeah, so y'all I mean, to the point where when you guys stepped off the field on your senior day in Kinnick, it was together.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, right?
Yeah. It's my dog.
Talk about that.
I mean, that's my dog.
That's all you got.
That's simple.
Is it because he's late today? He was fucking.
It would have been real nice if you're
like, I'm not even surprised that he did. Bro, okay, let me tell you. I remember freshman year. First of all, me and Jaleel getting on a moped together.
Whoops.
That poor moped, man.
Sorry to the tires.
So we got a class at like 8:30. Okay. So I go to his room probably like at 8 o'clock. I'm like, I'm coming with you. He's like, all right, like give me a second. I was like, all right, cool.
Of course he needed a second.
And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, let me brush my teeth real quick. I was like, all right, cool. All right, like 8:05. I was like, yo, let's go. Otherwise we're gonna be late. He's like, yo, give me a second. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I gotta download this album. I was like, bro, that can't wait.
What was the album?
Kid Cudi album. Some bullshit. So then he left and went to go take a shit. Bro, we showed up to class at like 8:57. He was mad as hell. And then she was like, oh, why you got so late? And I was like, I'm looking at him and he looking at me and I'm like, bro, we did not have to be this late. Like you literally like went out of your way to do things to make us late.
So gave him the old 10 o'clock today. It was not a surprise to you that he decided to leave his house and get groceries at 9:30.
Hold on. He's probably the thing is before that, like up until 9:30, he was probably sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
From like 9 o'clock. Just chilling.
This is the worst time too because I know he isn't doing shit. It's quarantine, bro.
No.
How's before we get back to this middle of your career when you found your way on the field and then later on, how's quarantine been for you? What have you been doing?
So essentially, I'm an online fitness instructor.
Okay.
Which isn't not the worst. Everything. Obviously, we can't train in person.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff everything that we do right now is virtual. So leading virtual classes 6 days a week for like that younger age group of like 7 to like I'd say 12, and then like a high school athlete group of like from that ages from like 13. You got a few like college kids in that group. So that.
That's about it. Chilling.
Not else. Yeah. Nothing
Damn.
else. Like quarantine for me, quarantine really hasn't changed a whole lot for me.
Okay.
I've never been like, not that, like I was never, like I always kind of did my own thing.
Antisocial social club.
Yeah. Like I'm okay with chilling in the house. Like I'm going to be here anyways.
That's cool.
Video games.
That's cool. Back to you getting on the field. What was it like? When did it finally start to click when you got the scheme? and you started to understand some defensive concept, and you felt like you started to belong and you could fight against those big O linemen. Was it third year, fourth year? What was it?
Big Ten championship game.
It's 2015.
And actually, I'd say even before that, what is that? My junior year.
That would have been your junior year.
Junior year, yeah.
I'd say even leading up to that bowl prep. I'd say from a mental standpoint, I could always understand. When we started learning schemes and putting in plays, that was never hard for me. I was always all right, I can figure that out, and at some point, I could call the defense for you. You could put me there at Mike, and I could call out all the adjustments.
See, Josie, it isn't that fucking hard.
Yeah. But I'd say from a physical standpoint, it didn't really start to click till my junior year. I always knew, I guess I didn't understand how hard I actually had to strain to compete. And I didn't realize that I could physically sometimes just go out there and physically dominate somebody else and do it over and over and over again. And but yeah, honestly, that, I think it was, actually, I know it was that Big Ten championship game. I think it was, Jack Conklin, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Left tackle. And they ran some pin and pull play. And normally, I'd say I try to play underneath that and try to finesse my way through it. And I remember on that specific play, I was all right, fuck it. I'm going, essentially I was I got to get there. You're in my way. Get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
And we kind of and it ended up being we ended up holding each other up. But for me, it kind of clicked you have the ability to do this and do it over and over again. So figure it out and get it done.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
I don't know. I think for me, I say, I had my moments, flashes here and there. There'd be times for me where I felt I was really good, and when I was good, I was really fucking good. And then
your senior year, you were damn good. Our whole defensive line was pretty damn good that year.
Yeah, and then but when I wasn't before when I wasn't good, it was I go through laws of I'm trying to what the what's going on? I'm trying to figure this out. It's not working.
Yeah.
I'm trying to listen to the coach, do things the way that, the way you're asking me to do them. I'm trying to model my game after guys that are older than me that are, doing it in front of me, but it's not working out. But yeah.
It's a process for sure. Everybody finds their own way. Eventually you get to senior year, like Drake just said, had a pretty good senior year on the defensive line. Talk about your last year as a Hawkeye, senior day, maybe some of the emotions of that. Again, stepping off the field with Jaleel, capping the career in Kinnick, and then your opportunities after playing for Iowa.
I don't know. I don't really
You can talk about some of your favorite games, maybe, some of your favorite games throughout your career, favorite plays, stuff like that.
That Michigan game.
It was insane, right?
Yeah, you can't. It isn't it doesn't get any better than that.
Dude, your dance, your
Oh man,
Coach Parker loved that.
Hey, don't get it twisted. What's the name? Jaleel. Jaleel made the play that play.
Yeah,
right.
I think I did the heavy lifting on the actual play.
Jaleel didn't get touched.
No.
His guy went the wrong.
That wasn't a question. That was a statement. He didn't get touched.
Yeah.
Oh, hell no. I remember I tried to celebrate. I tried to shake his hand. He was and he went the other way. I was like, bro.
and then he did that stupid fucking thing where he fake falls when he was running.
Yes.
Oh my God.
my buddies could not believe that was intentional. When I showed that clip to him and I'm like, he did this on purpose. This is his thing. They lost their minds.
He would always do that shit. That's funny. That is so funny. You're wearing the t-shirt or the cutoff of muscle shirt now. You got drafted into the CFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pick.
So after, I guess we'll start after Pro Day.
Yeah, train for Pro Day and then
Pro Day. Actually, it's draft time now.
Yeah.
I remember, so leading up to the draft, like, I'm going to be honest, like, I was still hopeful, like, that I'd get an opportunity with an NFL team to say, yo, come into camp right away and at least try out with the team.
Mm-hmm.
When that didn't happen, I was a little bit disappointed. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, that day, like, it was hurtful.
It always is.
But my agent right away was like, yo, like, ignore that. Like, there's teams in the CFL that are willing to draft you pretty high in their draft if things don't work out with the NFL. So I remember long after that timeline, went in, did the regional pro day with the Bears, did that one-day thing, talked to their coaches for a brief minute. Their thing was like, hey, we like the way you play. We've got couple guys on our draft boards. If things don't work out with them, then, we want you to come to camp. And essentially my decision at the time was, all right, do I, go into camp with a couple of these teams, or do I go straight up to Canada and start playing there, put a couple of years of film together, and then try to make another run at the NFL? In terms of like the timeline, so the thing people don't realize the time, like the CFL season actually starts a few months, I think like a couple of months earlier. So I think they start.
Because if you played in December in the CFL, well, there'd be body bags outside of the stadium.
Yeah, you'd have to work around moose on the field.
Yeah, literally. Actually, it's crazy to say that. The one game in Winnipeg, there was a game that was like delayed because there was a moose on the road. Like Michaela texted me that day. She said, and I was like, "Are you at the stadium yet?" She's like, "Nah, there's traffic holding because there's a moose on the road." I thought I was trying to make like a Canadian joke, but then like sure enough, pull it up on Twitter, fucking moose like blocking up to the stadium, and I was like, of course.
That's wild. That's wild, literally and figuratively. But anyway, yeah.
But yeah, so the decision essentially was between trying out for an NFL team, trying to make the practice squad, playing on that timeline, and going straight up to Canada, joining their camp, getting drafted, getting paid right away. And like I said, putting a couple years of film together. So their season actually starts. So assuming I had tried out for an NFL team and, made it all the way through camp in terms of, so what is that, like August?
Yeah, like middle August.
Mm-hmm.
Like I ended up getting cut then. The CFL season at that time would have been, I think, like 8 or 10 weeks into their season.
Wow.
And so I would have missed out on.
You had to make a decision basically before it all happened.
8 to 10 game checks. And I had, at the time, I had my agent telling me, yo, you can go up to Canada and possibly play right away. And I was like, all right, fuck it, let's go. Like, out. And Winnipeg drafted me first overall. The thing people don't realize the way, so essentially if I got picked on an NFL team, then my stock in the CFL draft would have fell because they wouldn't have wasted a high pick.
Right.
Sure.
I think would have been able to show up.
In case you make an NFL roster, then they just wasted their draft pick. Yeah.
So before the draft, we talked to Winnipeg and said, hey, like we're thinking about not trying out for any NFL teams. And they said, all right, if you're going to do that, then we'll go ahead and draft you first overall. And you can come up right away and, we'll start making things happen. So I go up there my first year. Honestly, it's a bit of a shit show. Well, not a shit show. It's just a whole lot of adjustment. And this is a guy, to be honest, it's an athlete who I felt like I had just found my groove with like 4-down football.
Mm-hmm.
Football. Go up to Canada. I'm like, all right, let's do this thing. It is a completely different game.
Wait, yeah, it looks like a different game.
Like it is complete, and like I'd say like a lot of Americans like come up, and myself included, like come up to Canada. One, we underestimate how different the game actually is, and we underestimate the kind of talent that's in the league. Got some pretty talented football players that are playing in that league, and like I said, it's a completely different game. It's 3 downs instead of 4. Defensive linemen have to line up a yard off the ball. You can have on offense, you can have as many as many receivers in motion, like before the snap.
Yeah, I have no idea how defensive coordinators even try to scheme against that.
Yeah.
When you can have anybody just running back and forth.
It's 12 men on the field. So like I shouldn't laugh. Johnny Manziel came up to the CFL. And some people are like, yo, he should tear it up. I'm like, yo, this guy is fucked. Because in the CFL, it's essentially, if you as a quarterback, if you can't read the field, they're saying, all right, there's 11 men on the field. Now I'm going to add an extra DB. So it's like, if you couldn't read the field before, if you can read the coverage before an 11-man football, like now we're saying, hey, we're going to add a DB, like good luck. So a lot of some of the quarterbacks that do really well in the CFL are quarterbacks that, one, can get the ball out quick, and like they can read the defense and they know like where they should go with the ball and when they should go with it. Like which receivers they should go to and when they should go to them. Like if you're gonna try and like improvise your way through the league, like it's not gonna work. And the guys in this league are a lot smaller, so they're not. I wouldn't say they're faster, but like a big defensive tackle, like in their league, is 280, like 290 at the most.
So you were the most that was outside of that stage.
Yeah. So me coming in at like 310. Like they were like, yo, you're way too big. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking like, what are you talking about?
You were the CFL Vince Wilfork.
Yeah. In my mind, I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, yo, we need you to get back down to like 280.
Damn.
Like 280. I'm like, I'm sitting at like 310. I'm like, yo, you're asking me to lose 30-something odd pounds in a season, which is something I'd never actually done. And that's another thing, I guess, from like just being like naive. Like I didn't have any information on like nutrition. I didn't know, I guess, like what it meant to like actually like eat to like fuel my body and like, hey, how to recover, how to do this, how to do that. Like I feel like it was kind of like preached to you, but you were never actually given the information and said, hey, here's the information,
Yeah.
Take it for what it is.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Here, it is what it is. But yeah, so I was, a bigger guy coming in. And another thing is it's a very, so because it is 3-down football, so it's a ton of passing. So like for like teams on first down, 50% of the time they're passing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it took me up until like a month of being there and practicing before I didn't stay on the field after each.
After the second down?
Yeah. So like second down, everyone's running off. I'm like, yo, where you going? And they're like, yo, it's like third down, like get off the field. And I'm like that took a while. And then the whole being a yard off the ball in terms of like defensive line, like technique, like timing.
Jaleel would have been fucked.
And that's the thing. Like sometimes, like certain types of linemen do really well in the CFL. Like Nate Meyer have done really well in the CFL.
He went over to Japan, tore it up a little bit.
Like think like in terms of like the linemen that do really well. Like think undersized defensive tackles that were in the NFL. Like they consider like them, hey, he can't play on first and second down because he can't play the run for shit. But in the CFL, first down is 50-50 run. So if you can play the run real well, they can give a fuck less.
Wow.
If you can get upfield, get after the pass rusher, get after the passer, like that's what they value. Which that is what I wasn't. That's right. That wasn't the player that I was, and I feel like that's why I struggled my entire first year because I was trying to figure that out, and it took me so long to figure out. You're like, yo, this is what they need from me, but I didn't have that specific skill set. Like I never, like no offense to Coach Morgan, but Coach Morgan was an offensive line coach before they flipped him over to a defensive line. Like Coach Morgan taught us, hey, here's how you take on your run blocks. Here's how you fit into the run. Here's how you take on a double team. Here's how you bull rush. Like Coach Morgan didn't have us out there running the hoops. Coach Morgan didn't really have, like, yes, we were working hands, but we weren't working, we weren't, turning the corner and bending, doing this, doing that. So I felt like from a skill standpoint, from a potential, like in terms of like, hey, if you're drafting a body, like, all right, and you're willing to wait a couple years for me to develop, then all right, great pick. But what they needed me to do was come in right away and like be a contributor, which like I wasn't. Like, and like the only time I really played, like they put me in on third and short essentially. So I played short yardage, which is what I was good at. Like that's what I like. All right, put me in on the short yardage.
Yep.
Yeah, I could take on a fucking double team. But with the team, like that first year, like that was my first year. When I went into that off season, had a conversation with the management, and they were like, "All right, this is what we need from you. this off season, we need you to cut down. We need you to drop down to like 290, 285, which I did. I think it came down to actually it's crazy to me, but at one point, so I think at one point during the offseason, they had signed a QB and, gave him a signing bonus. And he decided, he's like, all right, I'm done playing. And so, like, the signing bonus that they had given him, they're like, all right, now we're out of that for next season, so we got to figure that out. And in terms of players that were making the most at the time on the team and not producing, like, all right, I was that guy. So come before the start of the next season, I had a conversation with the head coach, and he was like, yo, this is what it is. We have to release you. So they released me, signed with a different CFL team, like I think less like 2 or 3 days later. The Montreal Alouettes, fly out there. I'm with the Alouettes for, I'd say, like 2 months. So, like, this is the beginning of my second CFL season.
Mm-hmm.
I went there for a couple months in practice one day, tear my Achilles in practice. Tear my Achilles in practice. Had that surgery, right away. Obviously can't play. What ended up happening that season was they're like, yo, you can go wherever you want to do your rehab. We'll pay out the rest of your salary, but you're good for the year. And so that's when I moved back to Illinois and actually started coaching. I'd always joke with my high school athletic director, like we were close, still are close actually. And I was like, yo, like one day I'll come back and I'll coach like for the academy. I had no intention of actually coaching. I was like, nah. And then like I texted him, I was like, yo, like turns out like I have a lot more time on my hands now than I thought I would. Come back for the season, coach, start working as a intern at IBJI. Actually was substitute teaching at a tiny private school. Substitute teaching.
You would have been a badass sub to have, dude.
Hey, music
Were
class.
you the sub that just brought in the TV and was like, hey, kids, we're watching a movie today?
We're watching Bill Nye.
I don't know anything about music.
You just started playing them Lil Wayne, dude. You just put on the Carter 3.
No, I don't know anything about. I'm not a big, but yeah, it was like, yo, here's the movie we're watching today. Here's your worksheet. And the thing is, with this school, like a lot of these kids, like those kids are the most brilliant kids you've ever seen in your life, like the most brilliant middle schoolers.
Damn.
So like a lot of them, like they're smarter than I am. I'd be like, yo, here's your work. All right, good. You know what to do. All right, we're good.
And so circles
don't
back.
ask me the questions because I don't know the answer.
Yeah. Circles back around and you're back in Illinois. And so then eventually you're just like, time to hang it up. Like just wasn't.
So my rehab process was shitty. And so leaving Montreal, so I had my surgery done in Canada, first of all, like a day after, like a couple of days after I have tear my Achilles. Actually, if you were to look at my scar right now, my scar is gnarly. Like, I think it looks disgusting. But get that done. And actually leading up to, so I remember so after I had my surgery, they said, that first week, they're like, yo, don't just chill at home. Don't do anything. Like, just rest. And so I'm in Montreal on my own, just chilling essentially. Like, in the house that we just rented. And then like that second week goes around and I start texting the athletic trainer. I was like, yo, what can I start doing? And like, start rehabbing this thing. He's like, nah, just rest. And so like week and a half, 2 weeks goes by. Hit him up, keep hitting him up. I'm like, yo, like getting restless at this point. Like let's get on this thing. Like let's start rehabbing this thing. And then eventually I'm like, all right, screw it. Like I start showing up at the stadium and like, he's like, yo, you can't keep showing up at the stadium. Like I need to know you're going to come. Just like real, like sketchy shit, to be honest.
That's weird.
And so then finally we like start rehab like 2.5 weeks later, whatever. And then finally they tell me like, yo, we're going to pay you out for the rest of the season. You can go back to wherever you want. So you don't have to stay out here for the season. So I'm like, all right, boom, let's go back to America at least. Cause Michaela can't work in Canada.
Right.
So we moved back to Illinois and I have to wait. Like part of the deal with me moving back here was I had to wait for his like authorization to start my rehab here because they'd be paying for all my rehab. So I can actually, so there was like a span of like 2 weeks where I'd reach out to him, I'd text him, I'd call him, and he wouldn't hit me back. And I'd have to like text somebody else in the organization, be like, yo, what's going on? And then finally be like, oh, we'll go get him. Like, we don't know what his issue is.
That's weird, bro.
Like, I find out like it's not the first time like it's happened. Like, we've done it with multiple players. There've been like multiple people that have like said things about it, but like he must have like some union job where like it doesn't really matter. I'm serious though. Like Canada loves their unions.
That's wild.
So I don't really start. So essentially, up until like 2 months after my Achilles surgery, all the rehab I had done up until that point was me going on Google and YouTube and like looking shit up and like just kind of doing it on my own and trying to coach football at the same time on a freaking scooter. Like, that was just stupid.
Damn.
But, and they had told me, like, coming out of that surgery, actually, the doctor that operated on me told me, like, what he had told me, he's like, you're looking at, like, a 9 to 12-month recovery. He's like, at best, like, 9. And so in my head, I'm thinking, all right, boom, 9 months, like, I can get back to it. Like I'm going to hammer at this, like, 2 or 3 times a day. Like, hopefully, like, get back in time for, like, next season. Or at the very worst, like, end of, like, next season. And I get to around month 6 or 7, my rehab, and I'm like, yo, this does not, like, doesn't feel like there's any way we'll be playing football anytime soon. And I transfer my rehab over to IBJI. I start working with the therapist there, and they come to me and they're like, yo, this is the worst scar tissue we've seen in a while. We don't know who operated on you. Like, we're constantly trying to get in contact with the doctor from Canada. Still to this day, haven't been able to reach him.
Wow.
So like, in my head,
sketchy shit now.
Yeah, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, like the team, like for the sake of saving money, like the team gets, whatever doctor's willing to do an Achilles surgery, like as quick as they can. They don't do it because it's a socialist, healthcare. Like they're not looking for the most expensive ways to get shit done. Like if they can cut corners, like they're going to cut corners when it comes to certain things. And so, like, in hindsight, like, looking back on it, like, I probably should have said, yo, I want, I'll hold off.
The state were done in America.
Yeah, like, I'm going to go find my own doctor or find, like, the best guy, wherever the hell that is, till I get this done. But, yeah, so I get, to a point where I'm like, okay, like, I don't feel like I'm in any type of shape to actually play. I've been out of the game for better part of like a year and a half because I didn't really like play a ton my rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was like, all right, is it really for me? Because for those that don't know, like the minimum salary in the CFL is like $55,000 Canadian. So at one point I was like, all right, is it worth it for me? And I was like, if I was going to make a return to the game, like that's what I'd be making. So I was like, is it worth it, to risk, possibly re-tearing my Achilles or, for 55, for essentially like 50 grand. And I was like, worst case scenario, in my head now, is the worst case scenario, I go to CFL, play for another 5 years. I say, all right, I'm done at whatever, 29, 30 years old. I was like, then at 5 years, that's $250,000, give or take. I was like, I can't justify playing another 5 years for that amount of money in my head.
There you go.
Sure.
And so
it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you can go out and get a real job and and like make more or the same, more, like without putting your health at risk.
You make more. And that's another thing. Like, I feel like that's something that sometimes I feel like people don't really realize. Like that, especially like football players or just, I don't know, athletes in general, like, like you can make a good living doing other things besides.
Sure, absolutely.
Especially with the outlets that you get through Iowa, because the network goes so far. Like, you just find people who are Iowa alums and willing to help Iowa alums everywhere.
For sure. So then
I was about to say that I would have retired too. I would have probably retired before you. Once they started doing all that bullshit with my recovery and I just felt like I was totally just getting screwed, I'd be like, all right.
I got to check on these ribs real quick.
That's a wild story.
Yeah, it's been crazy to hear Faith's whole story.
Faith should really go on Botched. is what he should do.
He should just sue he should sue his football team.
Yeah, he should sue
for negligence.
That's crazy.
What's the Canadian court system like?
Probably.
I don't know if the courts would allow you to sue their national healthcare system.
Yeah, probably not. I'm just so hungry now that Faith is cooking meat in the back. That is actually wild. When Faith will be back here, we'll wrap it up in a second. For those still listening, as always, give us a little rate and review on the platform that you're listening to us on. And during this episode, go and check out our Heroes merch. All of the proceeds of our current merch line, Iowa America Heroes, Quarantined by a Million, little design we came up with. All of that goes to the emergency Iowa Healthcare Worker Fund, or it's something like that. I forgot the name of it again, Kevin. It's like that.
Good for us to know what charities.
It's like the Emergency UI Healthcare Fund, I'm pretty sure. And so go check that out if you guys have it in your heart and in your wallet to donate a little bit for those that are affected by COVID-19 and all the stuff that is going on right now. I see that, Faith. I see it. Once we get Faith back in here, we'll talk about what he's got going on and what his future looks like, and then we'll wrap it up. But yeah, go check that out, and we'll see what we got. This is really good for those watching the YouTube. I wonder if he's got a regular grill or a Traeger or something like that. He's licking his fingers now. It's like straight up training table at the Ekakitie household right now. Kevin,
Ivy would bring their big ass grill and grill up a bunch of burgers and shit.
Kevin, you're still staying clear of the Rona, right?
You know what? Maybe I had it, maybe I don't. Who knows? There's studies out there that say that 10% of people have gotten it, like literally 10% of the entire population have gotten it, but just didn't show any symptoms.
His new nickname's Coronas and Cream.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? I'd imagine that being in and out of hospitals, I have the antibodies.
Yeah, probably. I need Faith to sit
weird
down
situation, bro. Very weird situation.
It is a weird situation. Yeah, we thought Lauren had it. We didn't really, but Lauren got sick like 2 days ago, and I was like, "You got the Rona? Because I can't be getting the Rona."
Down with the sickness.
Yeah, she was. But she didn't. Like the major thing I think is like a cough, and that was like the one thing she didn't have, and it's like it's a respiratory virus, or at least they called it that for a while. And I was like, everything but your respiratory system is like fucked up right now. So I think you got something else. And I don't get sick, so I didn't get it. But how that goes. Drake.
Literally, no one knows a whole lot about this virus. Like people are showing wide ranges of symptoms, and I think they're just all looking at, that's probably COVID. Anyway.
Yeah.
Faith's back.
We're gonna clear it up and shut it down here with Faith real quick. We don't want to take up any much more of your time because I know that food is waiting on you, Faith.
Nobody knows what the hell they're talking about, this virus.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying, man.
Like, no,
but hey, man, drink your bleach.
No. You gotta inject your bleach.
Yeah,
inject your bleach.
Yeah.
See, I've been injecting my heroin and drinking my bleach. I must have to try it.
Oh well, fuck! God damn it, Drake. That's why you're all fucked up.
I've actually had
what, Faith?
I had somebody tell me that over in Sweden, that their entire country is just like they
didn't do. So yeah. I was talking about this with one of my docs. He said they didn't do anything.
They're saying
just let everybody get it, and now they have herd immunity.
Yeah, they're like, we're just gonna let this thing spike. It's gonna kill. Who it's gonna kill.
Well, see, the thing is, they don't have a huge population in Sweden, so that their healthcare system it could handle like the peak.
Yeah,
that's the thing. We have 300 million people. There's no way that we could handle the peak.
Yeah, but hey, little strongest survive.
Yeah, same thing. Let it do its thing.
Let it run its course.
It's gonna run its course whether we want it to or not.
That was his thing. He was like, it's gonna do its damage. Either it's gonna kill people like right away, or it's just going to kill people. Like we're going to flatten the curve. And it's going to kill people over an extended period of
Right.
Do you think there's going to be how many college kids do you think there are in this country? You think they're all going to go 90 days in quarantine or whatever this shit's going to end up being without getting their nut?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
You think they're doing that right now?
No, I know they're not. Dude, I live in Phoenix. I see people all the time driving around to their side pieces houses and shit. I see.
One of my boys is a trader in Arizona. He told me, he's like, yo, low key, the whole state is still open. He's like people don't give a shit here.
That's the truth, dude.
That's wild.
What are you gonna do?
Faith, before we let
you till like May, end of May.
Yeah. Before we let you go, what is next for you? You're training right now. You're at the place that you're working. What is on the horizon? What do you want in the next couple of years for your life, or are you pretty content right now and you haven't really thought about it?
I'm good where I'm at right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna continue training for a bit right now. The next bit actually can't go on camera.
Okay.
Because what I'm probably gonna end up doing here is taking a PE position at that middle school that I've been subbing at.
Yeah.
Start doing that, and then probably training on the side.
Okay. Cool.
But I just had an interview with that school last week.
Nice.
Okay.
Still isn't for sure yet, but
yeah.
I'd say it's like 95%.
You're a man of the people.
How many days a week are you gonna have the kids playing dodgeball?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
All right. Well, episode 112 of the Wash Up Walk Ons, wrapping it up. Faith is gonna go smack some ribs and
hey, we got ribs. Wait, come on. Got ribs.
For those on the YouTube, you're gonna get the special
greens,
treatment.
beans, potatoes, tomatoes, yams,
bacon,
dogs, hogs,
logs. Look at that.
Wow.
Okay, well, you got was that a little rack of ribs right there? Is that tenderloin? Which bacon?
Some ribs.
Shit, man.
And some wine.
That was pretty damn good, man.
All right.
Well, we'll let you enjoy that, man. We gotta bounce. We gotta wrap up another podcast here before the last dance happens, because I'm watching that tonight.
True.
What is it?
In a half hour.
Yeah, half hour. So that's it. Episode 112. Thanks for listening. We will be back next week. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Walk-ons out. Peace.